my talk, I wanted to propose an idea which many of you may think is slightly counterintuitive, namely that graffiti is censorship. And of course you're thinking, but graffiti is just fine because most of the time it plagues the most negligible and worthless areas of the urban landscape. And so in that sense, what's the harm? The area was already ugly. And of course you may say that it tells us useful social information of a more alternative variety. Say, for example, fuck cars. But of course my opinion is you also could have just put that on a poster. But at the same time, graffiti has also given us significant artists of the 1980s like Keith Haring and Jean-Michel Basquiat. And so in that sense, there is perhaps some redeeming value in the art form of graffiti. But here in the area of Budapest, and I think most of you will agree, that almost all of the graffiti that we see is of that variety that we call tagging. In other words, they are acronyms or nicknames for the tagger, that person with the spray paint can who has informed us of his tag or his name. In other words, they are simply writing. They are a modern form of guerrilla calligraphy. But I gotta say, whether your name is Rob, Robbo, Rob 484, Rob's, Robster, Robber, the Master Rob, I got news for you, Rob. They're still just fucking letters, okay? You're just writing nonsense. And ever since Moses brought down the Ten Commandments from Mount Sinai and smashed the golden calf, we've had this battle in Eurasia between the image and the word. Because as the second commandment will tell us, you shall not make a graven image, you shall not make an idol. And it is in that sense that our Judeo-Christian religion starts with this fundamental prescription against the image. You have a religion that you see and understand in words, and the Jews observe it, the Muslims observe it, and many of the Protestants observe it. They think in terms of a God that can only be understood in words. It's that kind of thinking that has given us phenomenon, for example, iconoclasm, and of course that great Prague phenomenon that we call defenestration. And we have that to thank for the second commandment. And how does that relate to graffiti? Graffiti is that mutated virus of that phenomenon of iconoclasm, and now it attacks the very building itself. It is calligraphy gone wild and laying waste to a visual art form. That it is unwelcome, we can even understand. The uber-hip Dürerkehrt, with its highly alternative interior, makes it perfectly clear to its clientele that this is an intended appearance, and your tags are not welcome. Even at the super subterranean Dürerkehrt, they understand that they have conceived of this art form in their image, and your contribution is not welcome. Now, architecture as an art form is a complicated one. It is a combination of the architect who designed it. It is also the builders who built it. And it is finally also the people who live in it, even today. And one thing is clear, which is that their collective idea of what was the concept of their artistic project, that building, maybe it's let's have some windows with a bunch of black and white photographs in it, and otherwise paint the wall white. But it's sure that the words were not part of the idea. When Ödön Lechner created the Applied Arts Museum and founded the movement in Hungary that we would call secessionism, with his blend of Hungarian folk elements and Asiatic motifs, he had a very, very clear vision of what he wanted his Hungarian style to be. And he put fabulous Zsolnay ceramics on the rooftop, and it is a finest example that you can see in Budapest of that ideal of the Gesamtkunstwerk. And even today, it is carefully preserved by the people who work at the Applied Arts Museum, the government employees responsible for its conservation, and generally, many people are involved in the long-term preservation of this artwork. And one thing that is clear is these graffiti artists who have written on the side of the wall are not part of anyone's artistic vision. Therefore, because they have appropriated this canvas and damaged the artistic creation of those folks, I have to say that graffiti is censorship. Thank you.